Hi there, Luke here with another video. For those of you unfamiliar with our channel, my husband Tyler and I make travel videos where we document our experiences since moving from North America to the UK. Over the next 4 videos, we are going to take you along on a trip that we did to the country of Belgium. And each individual video is going to focus on a particular region of Belgium. In this specific video, we are going to focus on the capital city of Brussels. So if you want to see our itinerary and check out some of the top things to do in the city of Brussels, be sure to watch this whole video. If you enjoy these videos, please be sure to give a comment, like, subscribe, and a tip with the super thanks button if so inclined, because that is super helpful in supporting this channel. You cannot go to Belgium, in my opinion, without trying some beer, because Belgium is really widely known for the types of beers that it makes. And in particular, I would recommend that at least once you try what are called Trappist beers. And Trappist beers are interesting in that they are beers that are brewed by monks, and they are produced within the walls of a monastery. Another thing you should do when in Belgium is eat frites. There are frites everywhere. Anywhere you go in Belgium, especially in Brussels, you will probably find stands that sell frites. Belgium is also known for comic books because a lot of some of the more famous European comic book series, like Tintin, originated in Belgium. And it's pretty cool that Brussels specifically has a lot of really nice street art that features some of the famous comic book art that has originated from Belgium. And there's even particular walks that you can do that feature a lot of this cool comic book art. So be sure to check that out if you're in Brussels. All right, diving into the itinerary. How did we get to Belgium? We actually took the train from where we were living in a town called Dumfries in Scotland and took the train down to London. And then from London, we took the Eurostar to Brussels. We were actually joined by Tyler's sister Carly, who, if you watched our videos in Romania, she joined us there, and she joined us for this trip as well of Belgium. Our first stop in Brussels was to visit the attraction called Atomium. Atomium is a landmark modernist building in Brussels, which was originally constructed as the centerpiece of the 1958 Brussels World Fair. After we were finished here, we moved on to go to the city center where we did a free walking tour of Brussels. We personally did a walking tour with a company called Sandman's New Europe. The tour guide gave us a lot of interesting stories of the history of Brussels and local insights into the Belgian beer scene. One place that we stopped with the tour, which I was grateful to do because I wouldn't have known to do it otherwise, was to try a particular type of beer called Gueuze beer, which is this sour type beer and is fermented in quite a unique way, and we got to sample that, which was nice. In total, the walking tour started at the Grand Place and finished at the Mont des Arts. The Mont des Arts, which means the hill or the mount of the arts, is an urban complex and historic site in central Brussels. The following morning, we decided to get up early to go back to the Grand Place because during the day at peak hours, it can get quite busy, but in the morning, you can pretty much have it to yourself and enjoy the splendor because the Grand Place, I would say, is one of the best squares that I've ever seen in Europe. It is just very awe-inspiring, very intricate detailing in terms of the architecture, definitely probably the most picturesque area of the whole city. From here, we headed through the city to the Royal Palace of Brussels. The Royal Palace of Brussels is the official palace of the King and Queen of the Belgians. However, it is not used as a royal residence anymore, as the King and his family live in the Royal Palace of Laeken in northern Brussels. The Royal Palace now is only open to the public for 1 month during the summer, late July to late August every year, and we were very lucky to be able to visit it just while we were there. It wasn't even planned, but we found out that it was open and that we did reserve tickets to go inside and see it for ourselves. We arrived at the palace in the morning and enjoyed a self-guided tour through the various rooms in the palace, and they were really beautiful. The rooms also hosted a series of art exhibitions, which kind of made it unique and interesting, because if you visited palaces in other cities in Europe, sometimes they can become a bit monotonous and similar looking, but it's kind of cool that they had a combination of the historic architecture and opulence of this palace mixed in with more modern art elements. So that was a nice touch in my opinion. For me, the standout of the whole palace is this really spectacular green chandelier that, believe it or not, is actually made of beetles from the Congo. It does harken back to Belgium's brutal history in the Congo. At the time, it was called Belgian Congo, and King Leopold was quite brutal and ruthless in the region, and he managed to have this piece made for his palace. The buildings that comprise the Royal Palace of Brussels were built in the late 18th century. However, the grounds on which the Royal Palace stands were once part of the Coudenberg Palace, which is a very old palatial complex that dated back to the Middle Ages. The Palace of Coudenberg was a royal residence situated on the Coudenberg, which is a small hill in what is today the Royal Quarter of Brussels. For nearly 700 years, the castle and the then Palace of Coudenberg was the residence from the 12th century to the 18th century of the royal family. The Coudenberg Palace was completely destroyed in an accidental fire, which broke out on the night of the 3rd of February, 1731, and only the underground parts remain today. So after years of recent excavations, the remains of this palace make up the Coudenberg Archaeological Site, which is an interesting thing to stop by and see if you are in this particular area. Another stop you could consider making in Brussels is visiting the Cathedral of St. Gudula. This is a medieval Roman Catholic cathedral, and it has a Romanesque architectural style. Construction began in the 11th century, replacing an earlier chapel, and was largely complete in its current Gothic form by the 16th century, although its interior was frequently modified in the following centuries. It is dedicated to St. Michael and St. Gudula, the patron saints of the city of Brussels, and is considered to be one of the finest examples of Brabantine Gothic architecture. You also obviously can't talk about Brussels without talking about the EU, and in particular, if you want to learn more about Brussels' role in the EU, you can visit what is called the Parliamentarium, which is basically a tourist site that teaches you things about the EU. It serves as the visitor center of the European Parliament, and this permanent exhibition contains hundreds of multimedia components explaining the European Parliament and other European Union institutions. It is the largest parliamentary visitor center in Europe and the second largest in the world. The visitor center is open 7 days a week and entrance is free of charge. Self-guided tours are offered in all 24 languages of the European Union. A final highlight of Brussels was visiting what is called the Triumphal Arch. The Triumphal Arch, which is also called the Cinquantenaire Arch, serves as the dramatic centerpiece of the Parc du Cinquantenaire. The arch was commissioned by King Leopold II in 1880 to commemorate Belgium's independence for a national exhibition. After several years securing funding, the arch was finally completed in 1905 in time for the 75th anniversary of Belgium's independence. On each side of the arch are exposition halls that were built as a permanent replacement to the pavilions of the 1880 exposition. The top of the arch features a statue of a chariot pulled by 4 horses. All right, everyone, that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned some things to do and see in Brussels if you are visiting the city. And I hope that you stay tuned for our future videos in Belgium. The next one being day trips from Brussels, so that if you're staying in Brussels but want to explore a bit farther afield in Belgium, trips that you can realistically do as day trips. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye!